Good evening and welcome. This is Whole and Beautiful. I am Angela Oliphant, your host, and I am so glad that you all have joined me for another night of information, revelation, and change. Tonight, guys, as you can see, I have a guest on tonight. Her name is Patricia. Hi, Patricia. How you doing?
Hi, Angela.
I invited Patricia to come on tonight because I just want to have a laid back night and call it movie night. I know that Patricia loves movies and she watches movies and a lot. So I chose a movie and I said, "Hey, can you come on and talk about this movie?" And she said, "Yeah, sure. I can come on and talk about the movie." So tonight is just going to be a laid back night. I ask that you like, that you comment, that you share this broadcast with someone else. Let them know that Whole and Beautiful is on. Gather my Whole and Beautiful nation together so that we can all have fun on tonight, because we know that Thanksgiving is coming up on next week. A lot of families may get together and watch movies, although the movie we're going to talk about tonight wouldn't be that family movie. They would come together and they'll do family movies. Hey, Josie, how are you? And we tonight are just going to go over a movie. We're going to talk about it. I want you to chime in. I want you to put your comments in the comment section. I want to see that you're out there, that you're listening. And I want you to tell us what you think about tonight's show. So send me an email at wholebeautiful@gmail.com and let me know how you enjoyed this show. What did you take away from it? Hi, Dana. How are you? I want you to know, I want you to just see what you get from the show on tonight. We really are just going to be laid back and just talk. So if you want to chime in with your opinion, if you've seen the movie, if you haven't seen the movie that we're going to talk about is Acrimony. So if you have not seen the movie and you plan to see it and you don't want it spoiled, then you may want to not watch, because we just we're gonna sit and we're gonna have a conversation about the movie. I want to know how many people out there have seen it. If you have seen it, put your comments in the comment section. Put a thumbs up, like yes, I have seen it, and then give us your opinion about what you thought about the movie. So we're gonna dive in, and we got this time to talk about it, so we're going to just dive right in. Patricia, I want you just to share a little bit about yourself so they know who you are. I've known Patricia for a while now. It's been some years. So
20 years ago. Oh my goodness. I'm Patricia Marvin. I am Angela's friend, and I'm also an author. I wrote a poetry book entitled Emotions of the Heart, and I am a teacher, special education licensed teacher. Currently, I'm not teaching, but I am a licensed teacher. And currently, I am working from home.
Okay. Oh, Dana, you haven't seen it? Well, maybe you can listen, and then if you want to go and see it, yes, Josie, I know you have. Maybe you can go back and watch it. But if I was just putting that out there, if you don't want us to spoil it for you, then maybe you can watch it after you watch the movie. You can go back. Maybe you can watch the movie tonight and then go back and listen tomorrow at 4 p.m. and we'll be back on. It'll do a replay tomorrow at 4, and then you can come back on. I don't know. Oh man, but I would like for you to stay, Dana. But we're going to get into this movie. It's just movie night, guys. And I want y'all to have some fun tonight. I want you to chime in with your comments. And I want everybody just to be laid back and relaxed. We're not trying to to analyze it to the T. We're just talking. Okay. So we're just going to get on into the movie. The name of the movie alone, I went and I looked up what the meaning of acrimony was. And I was like, okay. Because it meant bitterness or ill feeling. And it's like finger pointing. And there was a whole lot of finger pointing in this movie where everybody was pointing fingers at everybody else. But Trisha, I want you just to tell us your overview of the movie, or what you thought as an overview, and then we'll go back and get into some details.
Okay. I actually love the movie. I've seen it more than once. I watched it again recently just so I could have it fresh on my mind. But that saying is true. When people show you who they are, you need to believe them. That woman was crazy. She was crazy. She was crazy. I mean, and she had been like that since she was a child. Her sisters said that she was crazy. So she had been like that since she was a little girl. She had anger issues and she had all kind of things going on. But the gist of the movie is it's a young girl. She meets a man while she's in college. They fall in love. Well, it wasn't love, but they get
They
together.
thought it was.
They anyway, we'll get into that. But anyway, they hooked up nonetheless. She chose to stay with this crazy lady. I'm gonna stop calling her crazy. But she was crazy, so I can't stop. Anyway, I digress. But he chose her. They were together for a long period of time. She eventually snapped again. They got divorced. The woman that he cheated with at one point, he ended up marrying, and she received the fruits of this woman's labor, all because she went crazy again. And of course, the end of the movie, she even got crazier, and she ended up dying. So now let's
Yeah.
start again from the beginning.
Yeah, in the beginning of the movie, when it opens up and she's talking to a therapist and she's going back to rehearse everything, or relive some of this stuff that she is going through, I look at it and I'm like, man, with everything that she had gone through, like all the things, I think it was like just compiled together. And
Right.
it wasn't just him, her husband, and what he did. It was everything. It was like everything all wrapped up, and all of that was on the inside of her anyway. Like you said in the beginning, she lost it. So, and she had all, and it was already there, but it just compiled and kept building and kept building and kept building until she ended up in the end of just losing it completely in
She
the end
did.
of it.
And when I watched it again, I didn't get a new perspective. I didn't. She's still crazy. But what I did realize, though, that from her point of view, that everything had been done to her. At no point does she accept responsibility that she did anything. She does not believe that she's wrong. She doesn't believe the way she responded is wrong. She thinks that everything was done to her. She took everything so personal, but it wasn't personal at all. She was crazy. And because she never got the help that she needed, even when she was little, because when she snapped that second time, her sisters even knew that that was it. That last time she snapped, it
Yeah.
escalated. It wasn't like her snapping and her getting mad and, breaking his windows out of his car and then calming down. It escalated to the point where she was ready to take this man's life. And so they knew. They tried to warn her ex-husband and his new wife, y'all need to get security. They tried to tell him, y'all need security.
I
She is
have some people who are chiming in, and they said that she didn't die. They're coming out with a second movie. They're coming out with Acrimony 2. So she didn't die. There's a second one coming out, and she didn't die. So there's a new one coming out. I might have to get some of y'all on here, and we just do a group and we talk about the movie.
You have to.
But in when I was looking at the movie and stuff, and because I'm talking about, like, during this month, I'm talking about building relationships, building family, building community, and everything. I was like, this is some of the things that I was thinking about, because what got me though is that when I'm looking at this movie, I was like, this is some people's actual life. They actually live this for real. And it's like, it's not like a movie to them. It's like, this is my life. And that was like stunning to me. And yeah, Francine said she personally didn't like the movie,
Yeah.
and
Not
it's a
because
lot
of
of
the
people
end
that
of it.
didn't.
The end of the movie, there was no closure because had they
Right?
did the end of the movie and then did a clip of maybe her getting out of the train and swimming ashore or something, then it would have
Yeah.
made sense. But for me, for them to come out with a two when it alludes to the fact that she died because she was under the water for a long time. I mean, if she didn't die, doggone it, she's a fish, and that's okay to be a fish. I don't have no
but,
fish, but the ending was not good. It wasn't put together very well because she hit this man with an axe. Did he bleed to death? Did he live? The assumption is that he lived because they got the
yeah,
crew back in the ship and all of that stuff. So the assumption is that he lived and he lost a lot of blood. But to me, it wasn't a lot of closure or even something that alluded to a part two. Because to me, if they wanted to do a part two, they would have left like a cliffhanger, like her swimming away or something. They didn't see her, or just
yeah,
anything but
yeah.
her just underneath the water, looking like she dead with her eyes open. Looking like a fish. Anything but that.
The thing with me is like the reason why I chose, like, okay, let's talk about this is I was looking at all the different relationships in the movie too, and
Mm-hmm.
how her relationship with her sisters, and how they were able to really like influence her, and
Mm-hmm.
she took everything to them, and she would go and she would talk to them about it, and then they would give her advice, but not all the advice was good.
Right. It
And
wasn't sound advice. The problem
right,
is her relationship with her sisters was it was good, but at the same time it was toxic
yeah,
because they might have given her the advice, but they were never talking to her. They were talking at her. And so because they were talking at her, not to her, a lot of times she didn't receive from them. She heard them, but she didn't really receive from them because they talked at her. For instance, like had they talked, really sat down and talked to her and really expressed how they really felt and not just kind of yelled at her and said these little snide remarks and these underhanded comments about this boy, she never would have gravitated towards him. But because they kept pushing and pushing, she went that direction like all kids do. And she was a kid, like all young ladies do when they think they know. She went the wrong direction because they kept pushing at her the wrong way. And
yeah,
because they did that, she ended up in a situation where she couldn't get out because she had gotten in so deep. She was like, okay, I'm in it for the long haul. Now this dude done took my money. I'm not going nowhere. And so she was in it from the long haul. But the problem was, from his standpoint, he didn't love her. He wasn't interested in her for the right reasons. He was deceitful. He was greedy. She had stature. That's what he wanted. He wanted stature. Then she had money, and he wanted her money. So in the beginning, he didn't really love her. He grew to love her. One, because he was afraid, because he knew what would happen. And then, two, because he was just with her for so long and he didn't have a choice but at some point to have some affection for her. And then after he felt like that it was his fault also that she could no longer have children because of her trying to kill them early on. Anyway.
yeah. It's with it. I want y'all to chime in too. I want everybody else that's out there to chime in. I know, Josie, you had some thoughts on it, and where you were saying that if I read everything that you said correct, you were saying how you felt like she was justified in the things that she did, because, and you were looking at it from her point of view and what she had gone through, and she basically had snapped. She was like gone.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like she was justified in her actions. I looked at everything, and when I was going back and thinking about the movie today, I was looking at it and I was saying, man, all these different, we think a lot of times that what we do don't affect other people.
Mm-hmm.
We think that we're these islands, that we are all by ourselves, and we can do what we want to do, say what we want to say, and just live our lives and not even alter somebody else's. But when I went back and looked at the movie, I was like, man, what you do affects everybody around you. What decisions you make are going to affect everybody around you. And even like with them giving the advice, and with her taking this advice, and with her family dynamic, what she came from and what was going on there, and then she comes into this marriage, and what she already has in her, that she takes into that marriage with her, and whatever he going through, that he takes into the marriage too. And it's like constantly this like chaos that's going on, and it's chaotic from the beginning.
It is.
And
It's very, very
when he sees the chaos from the beginning, when he sees what she's capable of, even in the beginning, I was thinking, what would make you still go and marry this girl? Because it's got to be something broken you to go
greed.
ahead. Yeah, it ruled over him.
Greed.
He wanted, that was far beyond what he thought he was going to have to go through.
Greed. It was greed because he knew that she had the money that would help with his research. It again, his relationship with her was not based on the same affection that she had for him. She really loved him. He loved the fact that she had money and she had stature. That if he stayed with her, he could get the things that he wanted. He was tired of being in the RV. And then she had destroyed the RV anyhow. So I mean, he needed someplace to go other than the RV. She had tipped it over with a car, so he needed someplace to go other than the RV.
Goodness.
So he had to stick with her. She had a whole house. Yeah, a whole house, a whole big house. Her sisters had gotten married and moved out. Yeah. And now she's in that house all by herself. And he was this lost puppy with all these needs and all these wants. And as women, a lot of times we think we can fix a man. We think that we have what they need to fix them, to mend them. But a lot of times we have nothing that they need. That's something that they need to fix.
Yes.
And because he looked at him, it's like, okay, I got money. I can take care of him. And if I take care of him, he's going to love me. He's going to be there. Because when she bought that car for him and he stopped being in contact with her, she didn't care about the fact that she bought the car. She cared about the fact that he wasn't talking to her anymore.
Right. She wanted
it wasn't about the car. It was about the fact that she was able to help him and be there for him. And so he wasn't going to go anywhere. But he didn't want her like that. He had something on the side. He had a side chick. Okay, he had a side chick. The problem was the side chick didn't know that she was a side chick, and so they in the RV. They in the RV, you know, cooking eggs and everything. And then she come along, and now the side chick like, what? What is going on? She didn't even know she was a side chick, and so this whole triangle going on with these three different people involved, and only one of them is really in the dark, and she was the one that was in the dark.
Yeah.
Because the side chick, when she realized that she was a side chick, it's like, okay, I'm out. You can have all of that. I'm done. You can have all of that.
But you're right in the fact that a lot of people feel like, and I see it on both sides, where people think for some reason that they can fix somebody else, that they can turn it around, that, you know, if they have me in their life, everything is going to be better for them because I know how to get it done. And people change because they want to, not because you're there and you make them. Because if you try to make them do something, you're going to have to continue to try to make them do it throughout the entire time. You have to, like you said in the beginning, when they show you who they are, you need to believe them when they first show it to you. Because if we don't pick up on those things in the beginning, and we don't see those things in the beginning, a lot of people are blinded by stuff. But when you start seeing those red flags, you need to realize that that's a red flag and not go after the red flag. It's like, leave it alone, because people are going to change when they want to.
Right.
We can put everything out there. They can have the best of the best of the best, but they're not going to change unless they want to. I told my kids, and this been like as they get older and stuff, when they started dating or they was and everything, I would tell them, and when they were thinking about marriage or thinking about pushing this a little bit late. What she said, manipulation, no healing from. Yep, very
Yeah.
good. That is good, Francina. But I tell them, it's like we have to, and it is truly blind. We have to, I tell my kids, I was like, look, the way this person is today, what you're looking at today, can
Mm-hmm.
you live with that for the rest of your life? If you're saying you can live with that person the way that they are right now today and that they never change, then go for it. Do what you're going to do. But if you're saying, oh, I don't think I can deal with that right now, oh, I don't think that's going to work, then you need to kind of back up off of that, because that person may change and they may not.
Yeah.
It may, it's like the ball is in their court whether they change or not. And just like Francina say, love is blind. When people feel like they are in love, all the red flags are gone. All they see is green, green, green.
Yeah. And the problem was she loved him, so she was in the blind, but he didn't love her. And so he was willing to not cheat no more, so he wouldn't have to see the crazy, because
Right.
all he had to do was just don't cheat. He
Yeah.
wouldn't see the crazy. So he was capable of that because she had money. She had a place for him to stay. And all he had to do was be there, make her believe that he wasn't going nowhere. He didn't go nowhere. Make her believe how much he loved him, how much he loved her. And he did that. But after a while, that gets old. And it got old to her. Resentment built up. Anger was building up even more on
Yeah.
top of the anger that she already had. The Bible says if a man does not work, he does not eat. That man wasn't working. He was not working. He shouldn't have ate nothing. He shouldn't have ate nothing. Nothing at all. She should have fixed him a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and been done. But
Oh.
the Bible also says that I will send you a help meet to help you and to be there for that spouse who can't do what they're supposed to do. So she was his helpmeet. The problem was neither of them knew the Lord. So everything was toxic. So she was his helpmeet, working 2 jobs, making
Yeah.
sure things were taken care of, spending all of her money, taking care of him. And he at home talking about, I need this, I need that. She didn't have to have kids. She had him.
The thing about it is that that's why people need to have conversations.
And they had none.
And they didn't have no conversation. It was like because you got to see where you go. It's like it's good for that person to have ambition and to want to go in a certain direction. But then we have to get together and say, okay, how are we going to fund this? How is this going to happen? And not just say, oh, I'll take care of it. No. It's we both need to work, and we need to work our jobs while we try to fund our dream.
Right. But he didn't know how to do that.
Right.
He didn't want to do that. He just wanted to work on that doggone battery. Okay. Yeah. And he didn't know how to do that. All he knew was she had the money to take care of him. So he was going to stay home, work on his battery. And all she knew was that he had promised her all of this stuff. He promised her the world. They're going to live in this high rise. He's going to buy her this boat. All of this stuff that he promised her, but they never had a real relationship. Their relationship was like this. Baby, I need money for school. How much do you need? I mean, he pretended like he was his lost puppy. She was his savior. And that was the basis of their relationship. He was in need. She had what he needed. There was no real communication. He would share all the things he wanted to do and basically how he wanted her to fund it without saying, I want you to fund it.
Yeah.
He was like saying, I agree with her. He was a con artist.
Yes.
He was good. And the problem was she was in so deep that even though she recognized, because at some point she recognized that he just wasn't no good for her, but she was in too deep. She was in there so deep that she just could not let go. And that is a part of that toxicity of not being able to remove yourself from something when it's bad for you. And she just couldn't leave, even though she knew if she was going down this rabbit hole with this man that was not working, he shouldn't have been eating. She was going down this rabbit hole with him, and she couldn't leave, even though she knew. Because at some point she recognized, okay, this ain't right. This ain't right. I'm working 2 jobs. He home talking about I'm hungry. I need this. I need that. I need you to buy me this. No, Negro, that's not how that works. That's not
She's
how that works. But she
oh
couldn't
my
do it.
goodness.
She was
Yeah,
in it for the long haul. She
yeah,
could
she
not do it.
was. She was in it for like she wanted to be there. And sometimes our it's it's like what I look at as people like they look at the wedding and they looking at all this stuff and they have this like this fairy tale imagination of what it is going to be, and they're living in this fantasy world,
Mm-hmm.
and their fantasy world is outweighing the reality of what's going on.
Right.
Until they can get up out of that fantasy, they don't see the reality. And like Francina's comment where she was saying that the crazy was already there,
It was already there.
and she said she didn't have the tools and she didn't know how to leave. And that's good, Francina. She didn't have the tools, and she didn't know how to even like distance herself from the situation. She was in it, and she didn't know how to like to separate herself from it. And a lot of times we as people, we do the same thing. We get in these things and it's like we don't know how to pull ourselves out of it, because somehow we feel like we're going to lose what little bit of self that we have if
Mm-hmm.
we pull away from it. So it's like almost losing myself if I walk away. So I don't want to lose me. And it's so much that is wrapped up in that movie. And I sat there and I was like, but what I kept coming back to is, like I said before, this is some people's lives.
It is
And that's
everyday life.
disturbing to me.
Everyday life. And the problem was, not only did she not have the tools, she didn't know who she was. She never knew who she was because there was always someone chiming in about who she was not. Her sisters were always saying, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. This is mama's house, this, and that. She didn't really know who she was. She was always comparing herself to her sisters. And in fact, her sister did not have the perfect life. One of them, her husband, he was suspect, had a little sugar in the tank. Then the other one, he had a baby across town. Everybody knew that. But the problem was, she was always comparing herself to them. So she couldn't go to them because she felt like a failure. And because she didn't know who she was, she didn't know her own worth, she couldn't leave. And that's a horrible place to be in when you don't know who you are, you don't know your own worth, that you can't leave. And she could have left. She could have left him long before her money was gone. Yes. And did something completely different, but she didn't know who she was. And because she didn't know who she was, she didn't know to seek better counsel other than her sisters. She didn't know how to seek better counsel. And by the time he realized that he actually cared about her, I don't think he was ever in love with her. I think he loved her. He cared about her. He wanted the best for her. She had given her life to him, and he wanted to take care of her. I don't think he was ever in love with her. Because
do you think that even with the gesture of the money and him doing the things that he started to do you think it was out of guilt?
I think he had moved past the guilt, and it was very sincere, because he didn't have to do that. Even after he got the money, he gave this woman $10 million. $10 million. Yeah. He gave her $10 million. He bought back the house, plus the house. Yeah. He gave her $10 million. She didn't have to work another day in her life. And he didn't have to do that. All he had to do was give her back what she sold into him. And $10 million still doesn't cover what she sold into him, because half her life is gone. But what he did,
she gave more than the money. She basically gave her life.
Right. And so he knew he couldn't repay that back, but he wanted to be sure that she would never want for anything. And he wanted to try to give back what had been lost.
And that he couldn't give back.
He couldn't give that back, but he tried. And one thing, and I didn't hear it the first time or the second time or the third time I watched the movie, was the young lady that he ended up with. When she went and picked him up from the shelter, they were sitting on the floor. She said, I hate that your marriage ended, but sometimes everybody can't go with you. And I thought to myself, I said, well, doggone it.
Yeah.
That's a possibility. Number
Yeah.
one, they never should have gotten married. They
Right.
probably should have been more friends than anything.
Then getting married.
Right. They never should have gotten married. Because as we had discussed, once that marriage ended, once for both of them, once that weight was lifted, once she finally was like, no, I'm not going to take you back. No, no, no. Because he did everything to stay. And once he realized that him trying to stay was not going to work, he let that go. And he moved on.
Yeah.
Everything that he said that he was going to do, he did. He didn't promise it to her. He said it was going to be for us. We are going to live here. We are going to do this. We. She was no longer a part of the we. So when he went and moved in the high rise and bought the boat and bought the ring, it was for the both of them, whomever he was with. She was no longer with him.
It was like he didn't specify her.
Come on. So,
yeah.
He went crazy again when she snapped, when she really snapped. You notice it was never about the things, it was about what he promised. It was his promise to her that he would give her the ring, that he would give her the apartment in the high rise, that he would get the boat. It was a promise.
Because I was just looking at a comment where Josie was like, she was like, nope, nope, no. She's saying that she was saying that she said whatever he was doing was not enough. And
right,
it wasn't.
It wasn't. It was never going to be enough. No matter what he did, it was never going to be enough. It was never going to be enough. So once that marriage ended, he was able to really pursue his dreams and the doors opened up. But they opened up because he never should have been with her in the first place.
Yeah.
He was in that wilderness like Moses. He was in that wilderness for all that time. 18 years wandering around with that battery with no job.
He should. It's amazing how it's amazing to me though how people in general, how they continue on that same that circle and just continue that circle and never breaking free out of it and not even realizing that some of the things that they're doing, and it's really what they're doing that's keeping them in that circle. And that they could break it at any time, but sometimes they see what they need to do, but they don't want the consequences. They feel like, oh, if I do this, I might hurt this person. Or if I do that, I might, something else might happen. And they build up these things in their mind and in their head, and then they just keep going in that circle until they finally get to a place where they make a decision.
Right.
That this is what I'm going to do. And this is how I'm going to get out of this. And with her, it was like she was already deep into whatever was going on with her anyway. And then he just added to it and kept putting stuff on it. It's like somebody, I heard it on a TV show a long time ago. It's like, they said it's like picking at old sores and making them bleed.
Yeah.
It's like, you just keep doing stuff, and it's she's already injured, she's already hurt, and you're not even paying attention to that because of your greed, because you want something else. So you're not paying attention to the fact that she's already hurt, that she's already going through this or going through all these different things. You want what you want from her,
right?
So you're not paying attention to the person that she is. It's like what you have, but not who you are.
Right. They grew up individually. They never grew up as a couple. They never grew up as friends in that relationship. They grew, but they grew separate. He grew up this scientist working on this project, living in her house, eating her food, because it was her food. He ain't work. Eating her food and living in her house and sleeping in her bed because he didn't own nothing. Everything he had was because of her.
Yeah.
She went to work. She had 2 jobs. She was tired in her body, in her mind, and in her spirit. She was tired. And then he would do stuff like, I need this, or another expenditure would happen and she would have to pay for it. And there was just nothing that he did that helped her. And I think had he worked, I keep saying work, but I really and truly believe that they would have stayed together had he been working and working on that battery. Because then to her, it would have showed that he cared enough about her to work and to help take care of her. Because her thing was, I want him to take care of me sometime. I want him to be there for me sometime. And
Yes.
so she needed him to be there, not so much as finance, but to be there, to be present. He wasn't present
Right.
in the relationship. He wasn't present. Each of them were individuals, and they never knew how to address each other as a couple. And they had like these lives, these individual lives, living under the same roof. He was this scientist in this cluttered room, and she was out in the world
Yeah.
working these 2 jobs and being tired and getting older. She didn't have kids, and she didn't go nowhere. She didn't do nothing. She couldn't buy nothing because she had spent all her money. And every little dime that she got was going back into the house. And then when he blew the circuit board, the last of the bit she had was gone. And they were in the
Yeah.
hole. And then she had to
It was
mortgage
like
her house.
it was like they were roommates,
Right.
and they were not this couple who was building on a marriage and trying to build, like you said, that relationship. They were just in a house together, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of people who live that way. They're together because I don't look at the years of a person's marriage. I know a lot of people look at the years and they're like, "Oh, you've been married, 50 years or 40 something years." I'm trying to see, is there like relationship there?
Right.
Because they can be there like 40 years, they could be there 50 years. But if you live in your own life and they live in their own life, you still are not having that unity and that marriage in somebody, and you're not really happy in it
That's
because
true.
people
You
are
have
just
people, yeah, you have people who've
not
been together,
together.
like you said, 40 years, 50 years, and they don't have a relationship. Or you have people who've been together 40 years, 50 years, and only 5 years of that 50, of that
Yeah,
40 is actual relationship.
right. Because they
And by this time, people are seeing that part of it.
right.
They're not seeing all the other parts. By the time people are really looking and noticing, they're at that part where they've actually now built the relationship. They've learned to communicate. They know what each other likes, what each other dislikes. They support each other. But it took like 20, 30 years to get there. So
Yeah,
people are
but a
seeing
lot of
these
people
happy
did.
now, they don't know the inside.
Yeah, they don't. And what man, our time is like we about to be up with time. See, I told you. Our time we got like about 2 minutes. I want you all to this like I just wanted to get on here and just talk about this movie tonight. I want to talk about some other movies, and if you all have any suggestions, send them to wholebeautiful@gmail.com, and then we'll choose a Friday night where we will call it movie night, where we will just talk about that movie. I want you to engage. I thank you, Josie. I thank you, Francina, for chiming in. If anybody else chimed in and I didn't see your comment, I am so sorry. But I did see Francina chiming in. I did see Josie chiming in and putting their thoughts up there. And I thank you for putting your thoughts in. This was not to be like a big to do. It was just to talk about the movie and kind of get people's opinion, try to get you thinking, because this month I
Mhm.
was talking about building relationships, and I was like, man, this movie was all over the place with relationships,
It was.
because both people have to put everything into it in order for it to work. It takes both people in a friendship, in a relationship. It's going to take both people working at it in order to make it work. You can't be in a relationship by yourself. You can't be in a friendship by yourself. You know, even the sign for friend is this, it's two
Mhm.
connecting. So we got to make sure that we are reaching out to our friends. We need to be reaching out to our spouses. We need to be reaching out to those that we want that friendship and that relationship with. So it doesn't matter how long you've been apart. If you want that relationship, that friendship to work, you can always give that person a call and not be waiting on them to call you. Um, or you can send them something and not waiting on them to send it. Because a lot of times we're waiting on them to come do something and they're waiting on us to come do something and nobody does anything. So we want to make sure that we are going forward, just talking to people and building those relationships. Remember that your life affects somebody else's, whether you want it to or not, it does. So you need to be watchful. You need to take care of you so that you're able to take care of somebody else. You need to love yourself enough so that you're able to love somebody else. And even in the midst of it, you need to encourage you. And when you encourage you, you're able to go out and encourage somebody else. Trisha, thank you so much. I told you our time was going to go by quick. I'm going to have Trisha come back, y'all, but I'm going to have her come back as the author, teacher extraordinaire as she is, the queen. I'm going to have her come back and she'll share some more about herself, who she is, what she does, because it'll be interesting and it'll be great for you all to find out about her. And then you can go and purchase her book. But we will talk about all of that on another show. But Trisha, thank you again for coming and talking about acrimony tonight. Hopefully somebody will send in an email and let us know what other movies they want us to talk about, and we can get back on and talk about a different movie.
That's good. I do it.
Okay, guys, I thank you for joining me tonight. I thank you for being with me. I am Angela D. Oliphant, allowing you to see, hear, and know that whole and beautiful is not just your destination. It is most definitely your journey. Join me again here next week, 7 p.m., and you can see the replay tomorrow at 4 p.m. Until we meet again, y'all have a great weekend. Bye.
Bye.